The tension inside the love and hip-hop world had been simmering for months, but this night it erupted like a volcano that nobody could contain. Whispers had been floating around in green rooms, in back corners of clubs, in the private hallways of production, and now those whispers had finally exploded into the open. It wasn't just shade tossed on camera for entertainment anymore. This felt darker. This felt personal. This felt like the type of drama you can't script, no matter how hard producers try. Behind the scenes, cast members had been whispering that Sierra was sitting on something big. She had been hinting for weeks that Yandy was hiding a truth so damaging it could wreck not only her marriage but also her entire image. The rumor wasn't small, it wasn't about friendships or messy social media beefs. It was about a secret child, and when you bring family into the drama, you already know the stakes skyrocket. According to insiders, it all came to a head during an off-camera moment when Mendeecees, the man at the center of this storm, walked straight toward Sierra and demanded answers. The room froze. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Phones dropped 2 laps. All eyes locked on him. Normally calm, usually collected, his voice carried a sharpness that cut through the air like glass shattering on tile. He asked Sierra why she would spread such rumors, why she would drag his family through the mud when she knew how hard he and Yandy had fought to stay together. But if Mendeecees thought his intensity would intimidate her, he underestimated her fire. Sierra wasn't one to fold under pressure. She lifted her chin, squared her shoulders, and doubled down. She told him she wasn't the only one talking, that these conversations had been happening for months behind the cameras. She was just the first bold enough to say it out loud. And when she said the words, secret child, the room seemed to lose oxygen. Cast members shifted nervously, torn between staying silent or intervening, their eyes flicking back and forth between Yandy, trembling in her seat, and Sierra, who stood tall, daring anyone to shut her up. "You act like I made this up," Sierra snapped, her tone laced with defiance. "But people know. People been whispering. And if you think I'm the only one who's heard about this, you're lying to yourself." Her words hit harder than a punch. Yandy's hands clenched tightly together, her voice shaky as she reminded everyone of her loyalty, of her sacrifices, of how she had stood tall for her marriage through everything. She said she had given her all, that she had always defended her husband and her children, and that dragging her babies into this was crossing a line too low for reality television. But her voice cracked. And when voices crack on love and hip-hop, fans know the walls are breaking. The tension was unbearable. Insiders later said even the cameras seemed to hesitate, unsure whether to keep rolling or cut away. Producers whispered urgently behind the monitors, debating whether this could ever air on TV or if it would need to be edited out to protect reputations. Security stood frozen, knowing one wrong move might ignite chaos. Then came the moment that flipped everything. Sierra, with a smirk, lifted her phone into the air. She claimed she had proof receipts, screenshots, evidence. The room erupted with overlapping voices. Some cast members gasped. Some shouted for her to stop. Others pushed forward, trying to peek at the phone. And in the middle of it all, Mendeecees' face hardened like stone. His voice thundered above the chaos. "You don't bring my family into this. Whatever issue you have, you deal with it. But don't you dare drag my kids into your mess." But Sierra didn't flinch. She fired back without missing a beat. "Then why are people saying things you don't want to hear? Maybe the problem ain't me. Maybe the problem is what you're trying to hide." That single line detonated the room. Gasps, screams, cast members leaping to hold Mendeecees back as his body lurched forward like he was ready to fight. Others rushed to comfort Yandy, who broke down in tears, repeating through sobs that none of it was true, that her children should never be dragged into this circus. And then came the whispers that cut even deeper than the shouting. Someone, loud enough to be overheard, said, "What if Sierra really does have something?" Those words hit like a grenade. Doubt began spreading across faces like wildfire. Even the ones who always defended Yandy had a flicker in their eyes, a dangerous flicker of curiosity. Social media wasted no time. Leaked snippets of the confrontation hit timelines within hours. A grainy clip showed Sierra waving her phone. While voices overlapped in chaos, fans lost their minds. Hashtags, #TeamYandy and #TeamSierra trended by morning. Bloggers dissected every second, every old clip, every past interview where Yandy had stumbled or dodged a question. Fans became detectives, pulling receipts from years ago, trying to connect dots that maybe weren't even there. Inside the circle, though, the battle only intensified. Sierra refused to be silenced. She taunted Yandy, accusing her of building a fake image of the perfect wife while hiding skeletons in her closet. "You can't hide forever," she spat. "Everybody got secrets, and when yours come out, the whole world gonna see who you really are." The words sliced like knives. Yandy, trembling with rage, shouted back that she was sick of her loyalty being questioned, that she had poured her soul into protecting her family. Her tears rolled, but her anger roared. Still, her emotional outburst only fueled Sierra's fire. She smirked, shook her head, and acted like she knew more than anyone else in the room. Insiders later said they had never seen Yandy this shaken. She was the woman who always kept her chin high, no matter what. But this time her shoulders slumped, her voice faltered, and her eyes betrayed the weight she carried. Beside her, Mendeecees tried to hold her close, whispering for her to stay calm, yet his patience was running out. He wanted answers. He wanted to end the rumors once and for all. But the more he pressed, the more Sierra leaned into her claims, daring him to challenge her. Then, just as the shouting peaked, a phone alarm went off. The shrill sound cut through the chaos like a blade, silencing the entire room for one eerie second. Everyone froze, and in that silence, Sierra tilted her head, her voice dropping low and calm, dripping with menace. "You don't want me to show what I got. Trust me." Those words landed heavier than anything else that night. Even those who thought she was bluffing couldn't ignore the conviction in her eyes. For the first time, it wasn't just about defending a marriage. It was about whether this cast and the fans were about to witness the biggest scandal in love and hip-hop history. The whispers grew louder. Some begged Sierra to stop before she crossed a line that could never be undone. But she stood tall, arms folded, expression unshaken, as if she was daring the entire world to call her bluff. And that's when things shifted into something darker. This wasn't just an argument anymore. It was a test, a war, a collision course between truth, lies, and survival. Everyone in that room knew the night was far from over. The night that started as whispers had now turned into a storm that nobody could control. After Yandy stormed out of the room in tears, slamming the door so hard it rattled the walls, the atmosphere inside shifted from explosive to deadly quiet. But Sierra wasn't done. Not even close. She stood there, phone still in her hand, smirking as if she held the entire season's fate in her grasp. Cast members huddled together, whispering, some furious at her for crossing the line, others secretly intrigued, wondering what she really had saved on that phone. And the fact that she didn't flinch while everyone else broke down only made people more convinced she was sitting on something real. Within hours, blogs and gossip outlets were already running wild. Headlines screamed across social media. Sierra claims Yandy hiding secret child. And love and hip-hop implodes behind the scenes. Fan bases split instantly. Hashtag Team Yandy fans defended her with passion, accusing Sierra of chasing clout. But hashtag Team Sierra doubled down, saying smoke always meant fire. Twitter spaces were packed, Instagram lives buzzed, and TikTok edits replayed every shaky, leaked clip on loop. But behind the scenes, things were getting even messier. A blog dropped a claim that Sierra had saved suspicious screenshots between Yandy and a male cast member. No names were confirmed, but the implication was enough to send shockwaves through the franchise. And then came the audio. A short, grainy clip surfaced online, less than 20 seconds long, but the voice allegedly belonged to the same male cast member mentioned in the rumors. In it, he said something vague about keeping this quiet for everyone's sake. The internet lost its mind. Was this the proof everyone had been waiting for? Or just another manipulated leak to stir chaos? Either way, the damage was already done. Yandy's silence suddenly seemed heavier, almost incriminating. Every post she made, family photos, motivational quotes, brand promotions, was flooded with comments demanding answers. And the longer she stayed quiet, the louder those demands grew. Meanwhile, paparazzi added fuel to the fire when they captured photos of Yandy leaving a restaurant with the same male cast member rumored to be connected to her. Maybe it was just dinner. Maybe it was business. But in the middle of this chaos, the timing was poison. The pictures went viral instantly, shared with captions like, "Is this the proof Sierra promised?" And Yandy caught slipping. Inside production meetings, tempers flared. Some producers wanted to shut Sierra down, fearing lawsuits. Others wanted to let her speak freely, knowing this storyline could skyrocket ratings. The divide was clear. protect Yandy's image or cash in on the scandal of the decade. And through it all, Sierra thrived on the attention. She went live again, cryptically hinting that she had seen the child herself, that Yandy had gone to great lengths to bury the truth. Thousands watched in real time, comments flooding in like a tidal wave. Some begged her to reveal everything, others called her a liar. But nobody could look away. Behind closed doors, Yandy was unraveling. Insiders claimed she threatened to take legal action against Sierra, but never filed anything official because doing so would force her to publicly address the rumors. She begged producers to turn off the cameras, to draw a line between reality, TV and real family, but they refused. This was gold for them, and they weren't about to let it slip away. The one solid foundation of Yandy's image, the perfect wife, the loyal mother, was cracking piece by piece. Her allies grew quieter, some even stepping back, not wanting to get dragged into the mess if the allegations turned out to be true. And Sierra only pushed harder. In one chilling moment, she leaned into the camera during a live and said, "When the truth comes out, y'all gonna look at her different." Her tone wasn't playful anymore. It was calculated. She had positioned herself as the whistleblower, the one brave enough to expose the untouchable. Fans turned into digital detectives, scouring timelines, piecing together old interviews where Yandy seemed nervous, resurfacing clips where she dodged questions about her family. On forums, people compared dates, screenshots, blurry photos. Every gap in her story became evidence, and every silence became confirmation. Then came the alleged bombshell, a producer leak. Word spread that the network had known for years about a sensitive storyline involving Yandy, but had chosen to bury it to protect her brand. If true, this wasn't just a scandal, it was a cover-up. Fans accused the network of playing favorites, of hiding truths to protect certain stars while exploiting others. The noise grew unbearable. Headlines screamed louder. Blogs went bolder. "Does Yandy have a secret child?" trended for days. And though no hard proof was presented, perception mattered more than reality. And perception was against her. When Yandy finally appeared at an event, her body language told a story she didn't want to share. Her smile was tight, her eyes avoided cameras, and her shoulders sagged under invisible weight. Fans clipped the footage, captioning it with lines like "she's hiding something, and look at her body language." Every movement was dissected, every pause treated like proof. Meanwhile, Sierra refused to back down. She claimed she wasn't just talking anymore, that she had shown the child to people close to her. Gasps filled the internet as blogs plastered her words everywhere, whether true or not. The narrative had shifted. The world believed there was more to this story than Yandy was admitting. The chaos reached its peak when Sierra pulled out her phone again in front of the cast. This time, she scrolled and held the screen up for a few nearby to see. Their faces said it all: shock, disbelief, even fear. Whatever she had, it wasn't harmless gossip. Whispers turned to shouts. Names were thrown around. Some begged her to stop dragging children into the mess. Others insisted the truth had to come out. The cast split right down the middle, half defending Yandy, half feeding into Sierra's fire. The cameras caught it all: the tears, the arguments, the alliances crumbling in real time. At one point, Yandy, her voice trembling but sharp, told Sierra she had crossed a line of no return. That accusing her of hiding a child was unforgivable, not just messy drama but life-destroying betrayal. But Sierra only leaned closer and whispered back that there were people ready to come forward. That she wasn't bluffing, and that the secret had been buried too long. The room gasped. Phones came out to record. Cast members glanced nervously at each other, wondering whose name might be dragged next. Mendeecees stood frozen, gripping Yandy's hand, his jaw tight, his eyes blazing. And then, with one last cutting look, Sierra dropped the final bombshell: that the alleged father of the child wasn't an outsider, but someone tied directly to their circle. Chaos exploded. Cast members screamed. Accusations flew. Fingers pointed. And in the middle of it all, Yandy broke, storming out of the building. Cameras chasing her into the night as she sobbed, shaking with rage and betrayal. Inside, Sierra doubled down, vowing to make sure the truth went public. By morning, the internet was ablaze. Hashtags, blogs, YouTube, breakdowns, it dominated every corner of the culture. Supporters fought to defend Yandy, but others demanded receipts. The divide was vicious, the debate endless, and the producers, they smiled behind the scenes. Because for them, this wasn't tragedy, it was ratings. And controversy always pays. But for Yandy, the nightmare had only just begun. Her carefully built world, her marriage, her brand, her legacy was now dangling by a thread. And whether Sierra was bluffing or telling the truth, one thing was undeniable: nothing in Love and Hip Hop would ever be the same again.